Hi everybody, this is Alan Valdez and I'll be doing a mini lesson on breaking down the CAGED system. So, what is the CAGED system? It's a system that maps out your fretboard using open chord frames. In this lesson we'll be in the key of G. So our first note, or our first chord, is an open G. Now to map it out, we use these frames. So the next frame would be an open E frame. But we gotta turn that into G. So we shift up. Okay, so the next frame would be an open D frame, C frame, and finally our A frame. So it's really great to map out your fretboard, and the notes that are compromised are your first, third, and fifth notes of the scale degree. I said that wrong, sorry. Of the chord. So it's G, B, and D throughout the fretboard. Now it's really great to use it as a skeletal system, but it's easy to really become reliant on it. Now, what I'm going to emphasize in this lesson is harmonic content, and what I mean by that is not relying on memorizing any kind of particular system, but knowing how to use it in a particular way that you're wanting more harmonic color and texture. So what I'm going to employ is a 2-5-1 chord progression, not a chord progression, but the chord voicings to that progression. So we're in the key of G. Our 2 chord would be an A minor. In this case, we're going to just use sevenths all the way. So our 1, our 2 chord is an A minor 7, and then our 5 chord is going to be a D7. Back to our 1. Now we're going to use chord voicings based on the 2-5-1. And what I mean by that is I don't want to, you as a guitar player, I don't want you to feel like you have to successfully use 2, 5, and then 1. It's just borrowing from each chord. So for this instance, we're still in G. Oh, and to kind of give more depth to the CAGED system, and this is really important, there's 5 different frames, but there's 3 positions that hold those frames. So our first, they're both held by this. Then we go an octave up to our D frame, and that one's by itself. And finally, our third be right here, our C, and A. Now, on the 2-5-1 chord progression, there'll be 2 different 2-5-1 patterns that are an octave apart that fits out the fretboard. So your 2, 5, and of course your 1. And over here it'd be 2, 5. Okay, so we're going to start with the 2. Now, what's so great about the relationship for the 2 and using voicings for it? Well, look at the notes in the G chord. G, B, D, and F sharp if we're going to use a 7th. Now, if we think about the A minor 7th, we have A, C, E, and G. Only the G belongs, is shared by both of those 2 chords. So, if you look at the G, just the G chord by itself, and just by itself you wanted to add extensions, like a major 9. G major 9. What are the notes in a G major 9? G, B, D, F sharp, and A, the root of your 2. You want to add more extensions. Instead of a 9, let's say you want to add 11. Your 11 would be a C, which is the 3rd, and then your 13 would be E. So it outlines an A minor chord. And the higher you are from that chord up in the fretboard, the more those extensions sound out. So going back on the CAGED system, we look at, okay, for the first system, we look at the first 2-5-1. We'll just do this 2. Now, what's really important about this lesson, I'm going to be using voicings that I've made up, and I highly recommend that you do the same. And what I mean by that, instead of just borrowing this, what I'm going to do is add an F sharp and a B. It sounds a lot more colorful. Now we think about the relationship. with the two chords, and I mentioned extensions. Now let's think about the extensions of your A minor 7th. So A, C, E, G. Now if we wanted to add a 9th, it'd be B. So we already have two notes that belong to the G major chord. We go up the extensions and you have D, and then you have your F sharp. So it almost starts to sound more ambiguous, but it kind of blends in the two chords more. And, you know, make up your own voicings and think of licks that you know that might belong to a certain part of the system. And you could really mix it up and add to those licks. Now, for the D frame, since it's by itself, to be honest, typically I just pass through it. Oops. If you wanted to, you could go up, oops, and you can do an A minor 11th chord. And then finally, to your last two frames, we originally played an A minor 7 like this, an A minor 6/9 with the root omitted. So those are just different chord voicings that you can use for the two. Now for the 5, what I'm going to do is do a chord substitution for the 5 and employ the 7th chord, a fully diminished 7th chord. So going back to our voicing, this one, R2, if we wanted to really sound out a 2-5-1, the way I was talking about with the chord substitution, it'd be 2, your chord substitution, which is an F, starts at F sharp, is made out of minor thirds. So it's F sharp, A, C, and E flat. And it sounds really, really pretty when you do resolve. So that's really the big function of this, is to resolve. Now I said that it's made up of minor thirds. And what's really awesome about that, no matter what, if you move up in minor thirds or down in minor thirds, you can go to different parts of that system. So let's say we want to be up here, but we're playing down here. Based on this 2, or your open G, or your bar chord G for the first system, your first frames. Go up a minor third, go up one more minor third, and if you want to resolve. So it's a really good way of just kind of getting around everywhere. I'll be doing online courses here soon, and I'll be breaking this down a lot more. This was just a kind of a mini lesson. Thank you for watching. This is Alan Valdez. You can find me on Facebook. I'll have more content soon, and I'm also gonna be doing one-on-one lessons if you're interested. Please DM me. I'll see you around.